there's still moments where I'm like, okay, my brain's slipping, let me get back on track.
Right.
Dr. Seth Fallon, PAC, board-certified physician assistant at area community health centers serving Avanel, Hanford, and Riverdale, and a biology pre-med graduate from Reinhardt University.
How would you tell athletes who want to reach that pinnacle of success how to create internal awareness and how to rewire their brain so it doesn't hold them back and it becomes a superpower?
You want to nurture that environment for whoever, whatever kid, whatever adult, whatever young adult, whoever it is. You want to nurture that environment where they're going to excel in doing what they love.
Dr. Vijay Krishna graduated from St. George University School of Medicine, works in Hanford, California, and 2 other locations, specializes in family medicine and obesity management.
Literally just look at the PowerPoint, highlight over that, and just keep it moving. Learning yourself, learning what things help, do this and that.
What age would you recommend they start playing sports?
All right, today we have 2 special guests. This episode is slightly different than what we normally do. So today we're talking about ADHD and performance because they are 2 deeply, deeply talked about topics, especially with more people being diagnosed and ADHD, quote, on the rise. We're going to talk specifically about performance and sport performance with ADHD. So let's dive in. We have now 3 providers who not only understand it from the doctor side of things or the provider side of things, but also have experienced this ourselves. So I have one main question today, and we're going to go around the table here. Would you consider ADHD a superpower, or would you consider ADHD a hindrance to performance? What do you think, Dr. Krishna?
I personally think it's a superpower because with great power comes great responsibility.
Okay.
And I think ADHD teaches you how to cope with it. And I think with every challenge comes a learning opportunity. And it depends on how people look at it. I can see how it may be a challenge for some people, but me personally, I find my challenges have formed into my strengths.
Interesting. What about you, Seth?
Would also say it is a superpower, and like Doctor said, once you learn to live with it, you start realizing things in your own life, and then you start making adjustments off of them. And I would say just from a sports aspect, it's definitely a superpower because not only are you able to notice certain things, but you notice everything.
Interesting.
If that makes sense.
Interesting. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, but I would say total opposite.
Really?
Like, I think ADHD, and this goes back to your point, like, is it under control, right? Like, do you have control over it? And I don't think many people do. Maybe that's my personal judgment that I see, obviously I see the worst of the worst when it comes to not having control because the eyes are out of sync, the brain's out of sync, focus is not there. But even from like, if I just go in deep on me, I feel like I've been on medication, been off medication, but it definitely affected my upbringing. ADHD causes, 40% of people with ADHD have some sort of eye muscle issue. And so you can't track the ball that well, or your depth perception's off, or you have a lazy eye. And so obviously I have, that's what I went through. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say definitely hindrance. But even if you look at like your ability to focus, would you say that ADHD, doesn't it affect that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like just because it's labeled as a disability doesn't mean it has to be a disabling condition. Yeah.
Okay.
For example, if you look at a lot of athletes out there, one prominent athlete being Michael Phelps, the swimmer.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people may or may not know this, but he was diagnosed with ADHD at a young age, and he did not like how medication, from my understanding, did not like how medication made him feel, and mom put it into swimming, and he used that adversity to convert it into obviously the best, most decorated swimmer of all time. Yeah. So
I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue Michael Phelps.
And to that point, you basically were saying, you have issues with focusing on something. In my experience, I would say when it was something that was interesting, especially with sports, I would be hyper focused, right?
Oh, interesting.
So what I would notice, like during football, you can almost have like a tunnel vision, right? But because I have ADHD and I feel like you kind of, like I said, you notice things that other people don't. So I played defensive end, through film study, picking up different keys, things like that. I'm not even 6 foot. I'm underweight for a defensive end. So just to be able to pick up things like the lineman's fingers, his stance is off, the quarterback's cadence, and being able to get all of that in a short amount of time is definitely a superpower.
So you feel like the ADHD helped you like hyper focus on things?
Yes, but
Kind of like Michael Phelps, right? He hyper focused on swimming.
definitely. But like I said, it also takes that time with learning yourself and your ADHD and knowing what things you are going to be focused on and knowing what things you aren't going to be focused on.
Okay, interesting. There are many famous athletes who have ADHD, and there's also a lot of, I believe, there are a lot of athletes who don't make it because they have ADHD. And that might be one of the key reasons, is that internal awareness to be able to know when it's affecting you negatively versus when you can use it as a strength. The way I'm seeing it, at least from this viewpoint, from what you guys said, it's like ADHD is a hindrance, but then you become a superpower because you have to battle it. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
Not necessarily that ADHD is the superpower, but the fact that because you have it, now you have to be internally more aware, you have to do things different, and you have to, there's like a quote that I think you mentioned to me in a different circumstance, Denzel Washington. What was that quote? Something about adversity.
Quick segment break, but you're going to want to hear this. If you're an athlete, coach, or parent, and you want faster reaction, this is where we start. This is called vector ball. This ball unpredictably bounces and it changes colors, red, green, or blue. We use this to sharpen the reaction time, focus, and coordination. And here's what makes it different. Whenever you see a different color, you can assign it to left, right, pass, shoot, adding a cognitive load, meaning that frontal lobe, while you're moving around, is making faster decisions. We use this with athletes every week, and we hardwire this decision making. Train your brain, train your eyes, dominate your game. Grab the vector ball in the link in the bio or scan this QR code to get started. Let's get back to it.
Complacency is a greater threat to your progress than
Adversity.
adversity.
I'm going to say it one more time. Just tell me if I get it right. Complacency is a greater threat to progress than adversity. Okay. And I feel like that quote kind of sums it up. It's like, with ADHD, you can't really be complacent. Like every day, you have certain challenges that normal people don't really face. Sometimes you have to hear things twice. Like you said, you're, in defense, like you would have to like study the plays maybe a little bit more. Like at least, I'm going to go back to me, because I don't want to speak for everyone, because there's severe ADHD, there's mild ADHD, the whole spectrum, right? So if I go to me, I'm more moderate ADHD, I would have to pull an all-nighter just to study for a test the next day. So I couldn't figure out how to like space things apart. Like I didn't have that internal ability, I guess. So I would pull an all-nighter the night before, wouldn't sleep, go in, take the test, ace it, and then move on. And then be like, all right, now the next thing. And I would do one thing, and now the next thing, right? That's me. I don't know.
I would say I still struggle with that.
Yeah, same.
You're never, I don't know, me personally, I feel like I will never 100% get a full grasp of it, but as long as I'm still learning myself and taking the steps to make sure that I'm still getting better, because like you said, complacency, and a lot of people look at it, like you said, a hindrance. And if you feel like it is a negative thing in your life, then you're not going to want to work on it. You're not going to want to look at it as oh, well, maybe this is something that I can do that can help my ADHD.
Right.
So, like you're saying, you have to do one thing at a time, things like that. Like I said, I still do. And even though I'm on medication now, there's still moments where I'm like, okay, my brain's slipping, let me get back on track. You
Right.
know? So it's just almost like you were saying, just not policing, but being aware of you, your mental, and the things that you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Krishna, have you faced that with academics or even
Yeah.
with sports at all?
I mean, I remember, in college studying for an organic chemistry test, and the weekend before, I remember sitting in I went to the University of Texas in Austin. I remember sitting in the study room there and just looking at the same goddamn piece of paper the whole freaking day and not absorbing a single organic chemistry equation.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like I just wasted a whole day, and I still did not do well on this exam. And I literally sat there and looked at those piece of paper for a whole day, thinking I was going to absorb it, and nothing went into my head. And so it wasn't until that, now these days I create lists, I create reminders on my phone, I put everything on my calendar, like today's podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't miss it. Everyone's glad you didn't miss this today.
But with that being said, yeah, I mean, I think it's how you channel yourself and how you rewire your brain, right? Like the setup that you have, this microphone would not be working if it didn't have the wire connected to it. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with our brain. Our brain would not be working if we didn't learn how to rewire it, right? So
I love that topic. How do we rewire the brain? So let's say using your guys' experience with patients, with your own self, building the ability to move past this as a hindrance. Like you guys are all, we're all now, I would say adults, successful, and we've reached what most people think as a positive outcome despite having ADHD. How would you tell, let's go athletes. How would you tell athletes who want to reach that pinnacle of success how to create internal awareness and how to rewire their brain so it doesn't hold them back and it becomes a superpower? Like, have you found anything that's worked maybe personally or even with other patients?
I mean, I think the work that you do as a specialist in sports medicine and vision therapy helps those athletes rewire and retrain their eye coordination, hand coordination, foot coordination. It decreases their reaction time, speeds up the reaction time. And so I think the work that you do definitely helps with that. Yeah. I don't know if Seth has any other input on this.
I would just say to learn to live with it, not look at it as a bad thing, and that's the best way to really rewire your brain. If you notice, like you said, you've had moments where you would cram, or as an athlete, let me think.
Like encounter more plays and seeing the outcomes?
Patterns.
Pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition.
Okay. Working on that visual memory, visualization.
Yes. And I don't know, it may sound funny, but I would say being able to see plays before they happen.
Yeah. Actually, we work on that, anticipation.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a science behind it. Obviously, you already know that. But for those who may not know that, the way you anticipate is you have to first have pattern recognition. So you have to see a lot of the plays that have been done in the past, whether it's film study or you've played enough. You're not going to have anticipation skills year one of playing any sport. This is not going to happen. You're going to have enough memory of plays, have the pattern recognition, and then you have to have speed of processing, meaning you have to be able to get your brain to process what you see very quickly, so that way you can react to the stimulus that you see or react to the play that's happening. And there's a set protocol that I've developed and I train that. But I think a lot of elite athletes do that naturally just because they started playing at age 3 or 4, right? And their brain and body, brain-eye connection is just immaculate. But when it comes to ADHD, I see that kids struggle with that because their brain body connection is inherently just not as strong. And so for me, that's why I've always, like, if we go back to that question, like, is it a superpower or is it a hindrance? I've always thought it as a hindrance. But I see your guys' viewpoint that if, let's say, I was a mindset of like, I got ADHD, there's not much I can do, like, I'm not even going to try. And we see a lot of people like that, that I could destroy you. Like, I could just limit you. So, like, what you guys said is totally true. Like, you gotta power through, and you gotta know that you could rewire your brain. You can make improvements, and that can turn it into a superpower. That's a Mamba mentality right there.
For sure.
It is. Yeah.
And I would say it can be annoying at first, especially from personal experience. Hearing noises, outside noises outside of what you're focusing on, foot taps, things like that.
Yeah.
But like I said, once you learn how to use all of that, you'll be able to hear people behind you. You'll be able to really tune into the ADHD. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I would say it's a superpower, because you can naturally slow down plays just without even trying. And I would say in a baseball sense, you can see the ball come in
Yeah.
perfect.
Zone in.
Yes, you're zoned in on it.
You can just spin on the ball.
You can see the spin on the ball,
Curveball or slider.
and it really does make a big difference. And I think with your training with the hand-eye coordination and really getting that focus with the eyes, it's kind of amazing. I can only imagine, what your patients really say about how they feel after the training.
Yeah. Because you felt like when you were zoned in, you could see the ball moving slower.
Yeah.
Were there times where you were like, I want to get zoned in, but I couldn't? Was that like meds, or was that just like you had control over it because you just like figured it out? Because that's tricky, right? Like everyone talks flow state, like, oh, I want to get to flow state. And then they're like, oh, I'm in flow state. Everything's happening. I can predict the plays. I can see the ball moving slow. But like, how I would do it, but how did you do it?
Honestly, I think it was more so automatic.
Oh, just
And
automatic.
It wasn't something that I could just turn on and off. It would just kind of happen.
So did you have any control over it?
I would say,
Like slowing down the ball.
Yeah. Like get in the zone where you could see the ball coming slower? Or is it just like when you hyper-focused on it, you were able to zone in?
like from a baseball perspective, right? If you're not zoned in on the ball, then yes, I can see how that could be a cause for concern. If you're looking at something that's bothering you in the outfield or anything when the ball is coming, you're not going to see the ball.
Right.
But I don't think it's possible to turn it on and off. But I think I did not reach that level of training to
Otherwise,
get to that.
you wouldn't be here, huh?
Yeah, I think I probably would have made it to the majors, but
I probably be in the Dodgers right now.
Dodgers or,
But bringing up that idea of turning it on and off, I think that might have been the first time that I've actually heard somebody say that it's possible to turn it on and off.
Yeah. I'm working on something which is super exciting. I'm working on my own. It's basically like how to get into flow state using a variety of different things. Now, it has nothing to do with ADHD. It's for normal brains. ADHD, I think the brain is just different, so you have to really cater it to yourself. But once I come out with it, I'll share it with you. And maybe even you could be a test patient, and we'll see if we can get you into flow state.
I'll do it.
Even with the ADHD brain. But yeah, it's a mix of like audio stuff. It's a mix of brain activity and then a vision exercise. And the combination with measuring your HRV and sympathetic system, I think I can get a lot of people into flow state, but I want to try it on more people before I release anything.
Yeah.
But it's super exciting. But if we go back to ADHD, and you had a story that I want to share. It was about Kobe Bryant. Can you share that?
Yeah, this is all speculation, so I can't say concretely. But Kobe Bryant, famous Los Angeles Lakers basketball player, unfortunately passed away in a tragic helicopter crash back in 2020. I guess from what I read online, again, this is based purely off speculation. I'm not saying anything controversial here. But from what I read online, when they did an autopsy to make sure there's no drugs or foul play, I believe that they found traces of methylphenidate, which is the generic name for Ritalin, which is a medication that's used to treat ADHD. So Kobe Bryant himself never came out and said that he had ADHD. It's believed that he had ADHD based off of these findings. Yeah.
Now, could you have like Ritalin in your system if you don't have ADHD? Like, would anyone take that for like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of college kids will take it, right?
But I mean, he was retired by then, right? Was he playing? He wasn't playing by then.
He was tired.
Yeah. So he wouldn't have it unless he had some need for it,
Yeah.
like ADHD, right?
Right.
Is there any other condition that you take Ritalin for?
Aggressive disorders, but
Yeah, you can take it.
Probably not what he had.
Yeah, I mean, usually it's mostly for ADHD.
See, I find that super fascinating because
Or
we talk about
narcolepsy, yeah.
narcolepsy.
Yeah.
I find that super fascinating because, you know, we all like, okay, I'll say personal again. I revere Kobe. So he's like one of my idols, and I'm huge on Mamba mentality. But then I'm like, was the Mamba mentality just Ritalin? You know, was he just on Ritalin the whole time?
Again, this is all purely speculation.
Yeah, no, I'm just what I'm thinking, I'm just saying out loud here. That is the Mamba mentality. Was it maybe ADHD? Was it Ritalin? Or was it just his pure freaking drive?
It goes back to what Seth was saying earlier, though. You become Kobe Bryant was so hyper focused on being the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So it was his obsession to be better than Michael Jordan. Yeah.
Right.
And so he would do whatever to achieve those accolades that he achieved. Yeah, he won an Oscar. You know, he won NBA Finals MVP. He won MVP for NBA. You know, he won 5 championships. So, like, I don't think it's just the Ritalin that made his Mamba mentality. The Mamba mentality is always there, and I'm sure that's ingrained in that's characteristic from personality.
Yeah.
The medication probably helped him if he had ADHD. If it helped him control the ADHD part of it. Yeah.
What do you think, Seth?
I wouldn't be surprised if it did come out that he did have ADHD.
Yeah.
I just think the hyperactive portion of the ADHD maybe exposes you to other aspects of life that you wouldn't have gotten into. Like if you won an Oscar, Kobe was doing
insane.
a lot of different things, especially after he retired.
Yeah.
You know? So it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And I think I would say a percentage of professional sports athletes probably all have ADHD. They just either undiagnosed or are not, out in the open about it.
You think it's like that hyperfixation helps them avoid maybe some of the distractions? Like, I mean, when you're a pro athlete or even like you're becoming a pro athlete, there's so many distractions that come in, right? Like when you're a college athlete, how many distractions did you have?
A lot. And I would say having that schedule was probably the only thing that helped me get through college and, go on from there.
Like the athlete schedule, like you got to work out at this time, you got
class
this
at this
coach
time.
at this time.
Yep. Yeah. And I would say having that schedule and graduating and not having that schedule was a large change for me because I had to kind of make my own schedule. And, with the ADHD, sometimes I don't want to do things, sometimes I do, sometimes I have a burst of energy.
Yeah.
And I'm just not the type of person that is scheduling everything. I don't have, all my notes and things like that. So having that schedule I would say really does help. So I would encourage, patients or parents with young kids with ADHD, put them in, sports or put them in, certain clubs and things like that, because that'll just help, them kind of learn themselves, but also learn the ADHD as well, and learn, what type of things they're focusing on and what type of things that they're into.
So let's say we have a child who's struggling academically, not because they're dumb, they can't pay attention, they can't focus. what age would you recommend they start playing sports? Or do you have like a certain thought process on, like, if I have a kid, I'm going to put my kid at this age in sports? Like, what's a good age to start playing sports?
I wouldn't say that there's a
There is an age.
Definitive age. Yeah.
right age.
I think it's very subjective.
Yeah, and I would say as early as they want to start, honestly. But, obviously ADHD is not found in a lot of kids that are 4, 5, 6, and things like that. A lot of times it is found 10, 11, 12. Just, But, yeah, I don't think there's a perfect age there at all. But I would definitely just encourage them to put them into a sport of some sort, just to have that time structure as well.
Kind of like the Michael Phelps story. Like, he was struggling in school, and then they put him in swimming, and then he just kind of hyper-focused on it, and then ended up doing really well.
Yeah, and it probably showed him that he was good at something. And, I think with ADHD, you're not a type A person, you're not, doing this or doing that, so you see everybody else, and it's kind of like, wow.
Yeah, you want to. It kind of makes you feel a little insecure.
Yeah.
Like growing up, I felt a little insecure, right? And I think, and so you're trying to be the same as, if not better than, the rest of the people that you're in class with, right? And so I can empathize with that. Yeah.
So either you feel insecure and you don't try to push through and you don't try to, power through, or, I guess you could do nothing and just struggle. I think we see both sides, right? If we go back on hyperfocus, right? So ADHD, we know some prominent athletes, maybe a lot undiagnosed athletes who are hyperfocused on their sport. How do we get someone to find the sport that they can hyperfocus on to help them move into a more positive, confident, direction? I mean, this is like a hypothetical, but like if you had a friend's kid who is diagnosed with ADHD, and you want to try to find them something that could help their hyperfixation in a positive direction, like, what steps would you guys take?
I think for me, I don't even know that it has to be a sport. It could be a musical instrument. Yeah. It could be anything. It could be painting, drawing, writing, whatever that person finds the most interest in, to pursue that interest. There's a saying, like, you want to do what you love, right? Yeah. And so ultimately, you want to nurture that environment for whatever kid, whatever adult, whatever young adult, whoever it is. You want to nurture that environment where they're going to excel in doing what they love.
Yeah, and I would say the same. Just listening to your kids and, listening to what things interest them, and, what type of things they are into. Okay, because I think a lot of parents try to either push themselves onto the kids or treat the kids like their siblings. But, you have to individualize things for every kid. And I would say trial and error as well. I think when I grew up, it was really good to be playing different sports. So I would play 3, 4 different sports at a time. And Sanders. And then, just eventually, like I said, once I got to high school, started cutting back on sports and things like that. But just trial and error, trying to find whatever sport or whatever instrument, painting, drawing, whatever they like to do and whatever is going to attract their attention.
So try a bunch of different stuff until they find one that you're like, oh, this could be the one.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a bunch of different things. It could be whatever is nearly available to you.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a basketball court somewhere outside, so just trying different things. And I think sometimes the ADHD, especially in the kid, they're going to want to try those things because they're kind of already been thinking about different things and trying other things. So I think they'll kind of be a little bit, I would say, more excited about it as well.
What are your guys' thoughts on meds with athletes in terms of ADHD? So medication versus no medication. I know there's a lot of controversy with medication. A lot of parents don't want medication for their kids. But, from an athletic standpoint, performance standpoint, would meds be helpful for some kids or no meds helpful? I mean, this is like a loaded question, but try to answer it the best way that you can.
I know in some sports they can be viewed as performance-enhancing drugs, right? Because they're stimulants. So
For ADHD or for just normal people?
There's stimulants, right? So so it can make people focus more, right? So it can be viewed as a PED and performance-enhancing drug in that aspect. Now, if they have a diagnosed condition and that drug is needed, then I'm sure there's reasonable accommodations that can be made. But overall, I think medication is a very subjective thing as well. I think you can't just ask about medication without taking into account, or maybe even taking to see like a psychologist or a counselor as well, right? Like I think having that structure, someone for them to talk to, because I feel the environment in which you're brought up in is going to affect a person's course in life as well, right? So
We're talking about ADHD specific or just like in general?
In general, right? In general, but it was specific to ADHD too, right?
Yeah.
I think it's applicable to anything. So I think medication is only half a cure, is not the whole cure, right?
Okay. So it can help, but the hard work still needs to be done with everything else.
Yeah, but what happens if the manufacturer of the ADHD medication tomorrow goes bust and there's no more medication being produced? What do you do?
Medication in the athlete's perspective, it does improve, or personally, it did improve. I wouldn't say performance, but the hyperfocus and the flow state.
Okay.
That's the one thing I would say I noticed on medication and off the medication.
So you felt more focused during the game?
Yes, with the medication.
With the medication.
Yeah, so I would say that focus, a little bit of the focus aspect is a little bit heightened with the medication, but you're still able to focus, just not as well as with the medication, if that makes sense.
Would you say it takes less effort to focus, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely takes less of an effort to focus and less distractions. Distractions, especially I would say, in any type of sporting field or arena, there's, stands, you have fans, people on sidelines. So it's a lot that can get you out of your focus.
Yeah. And if we compare someone who doesn't have ADHD to someone who does have ADHD, that environment of distractions, you played with and without meds. How much of a role did that play with your performance? Do you think it played any role?
Not personally, no, because like Dr. Krishna said, Kobe had that hyperfocus that he can be best, and I would say my focus was to be the best that I could be. So not really a performance enhancement, but definitely, like I said, less distractions, you're able to get to play more clearly. You don't have to think about it.
Okay.
Like I would say off the medication, I would just be running the play in my head so I wouldn't forget it.
Just over and over and over.
Yeah. Or okay, so this is my assignment here or there.
Right.
But on the medication, it would be, okay, I got the play. Let me go ahead and get my other keys. Let me listen to the quarterback, see what the running back is. And you're able to do a little bit more.
So it's more like you're more efficient. The outcome maybe is the same, but you just put more effort into it.
Definitely be more efficient. And I would say even now, there's days where I forget to take my medication.
Yeah.
And I can, sit and talk to a patient and I'm like, oh, am I rambling? I'm just kind of talking and it's not necessarily in the right order. And then, definitely more efficient, more straightforward to the point and able to get to things, finish them.
Right, the time management aspect is better, right?
Definitely.
I mean, likewise for me, I never played any higher level sports, but the time management, huge for me. It's just huge. Meds versus no meds, Dr. Krishna is my doctor, and he a life changer when he put me on this medication because I've tried everything. Nothing was working. I just figured out, okay, this is just how I'm gonna like manage things, one thing at a time, we'll have this little 70 post-it notes, just go through the post-it notes. But then when Dr. Krishna got me on the right medication, I was like, oh my God, I can do 2 days of work in one.
Yeah, it's really life-changing.
Yeah,
It is.
life-changing.
It can be. It can be.
Efficiency, right? I mean, with ADHD, efficiency is very much needed. Have you guys found any strategies that you guys have used to become more efficient, whether on meds or off meds? Is there anything that you'd be like, oh, if I was an athlete going back from what I know now, like I would do this, or I would schedule this, or I would use this app. Is there anything that you would be like, yeah, if my son has ADHD, I would tell him, okay, these are the things you're going to do, and that's going to get your brain in order.
I wouldn't say like I would tell somebody to do these things. I can only guide somebody in terms of like learning from my experiences. But to each, I think everyone has to find their own niche and their own rhythm to their life, right? So me personally, I find that making reminders for myself, putting things on the calendar, color coding things. I used to color code certain keywords like yellow, orange. I used to get a highlighter and highlight them in certain colors, and repetition for me teaches me what would take somebody one pass to read took me 4 or 5 times to read, even with medication for ADHD.
Even with
medication, right? So, but that's where I have like this 4 or 5 pass system where I'll skim it, I'll read it, I'll underline it, highlight it, and then go back and star it.
And you think ADHD is not a hindrance? Come on, like that's I mean, I get it though. I get it. That's what, yeah. So like you must have like had to have been pretty obsessed with becoming a doctor, or pretty motivated to become a doctor.
Just to do well, like
to be the best version of yourself.
Be a doctor.
Just to be like, just to be good.
You publish it online.
It's live. This is all live. What about you, Seth? I mean, did you have that same like issue where you had to, do this 5-step process to absorb?
Yeah, I would say school-wise, color coding definitely helps.
Yes.
But also just knowing, what's best for you, what works for you. Like Dr. Krishna was saying, like I wasn't a note card type of person. I could literally just look at the PowerPoint, highlight over that, and just keep it moving.
Okay.
So, just learning yourself, learning what things help, do this and that.
Right.
And, just energy surges, you take advantage of them. And
so do you guys all, like, I know I do, I have certain days where energy surge, super like dialed in, and then other days like, I wouldn't say depressed, but like definitely low, high and low days, meds or not meds, it doesn't matter.
Me personally, I think it really depends on the quality of sleep I'm getting, or the kind of type of food that I'm eating, right? If I'm eating like fast food, then of course I'm going to put away sluggish. If I'm eating like blueberries, strawberries, fresh fruit, fresh veggies, cleaner foods, I think we are what we eat, right? And so I think a lot of it has to do with the environment. These days with the smartphone, so many distractions with Instagram, TikTok, text messages, FaceTime, iMessage, Galaxy Message, whatever messages are.
I love how you're just like you just have a bunch of quotes. And then
it's my ADHD.
you just remember these quotes.
he's talking about me because I'm like, I love doom scrolling on TikTok. That's my ADHD thing.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I feel like ADHD is like definitely more prone to this
Society
doom scrolling and the low attention span. I mean, obviously ADHD has that in the word. So.
Yeah, so I really feel like our society is geared more towards a more ADHD-like society because we're so stimulated by so many different things now.
Yeah. You talked about diet, and I love that. So I want your guys' take. Let's today create 5 of your guys' top foods that you would want an ADHD athlete to take. whether it's a supplement or just natural foods or just recommendations, 5 recommendations. We'll go 5 from you, 5 from you. And just based off your experience with other patients, what you think would be good foods for an athlete who has ADHD to take. And I'll give 5 of mine too.
Personally, I mean, you and I are both vegetarians, so I can't speak for people, for those who eat meat. But personally, I find blueberries to be a good antioxidant. They're also been shown to increase dopamine levels in the brain, which is a happy neurotransmitter. So it makes you feel good. It helps with focus, movement as well. So I find dopamine, I say blueberries to be good. Almonds have been clinically proven in our ancient Indian ancestry. Soaking almonds in water, eating 9 per day have been good. Been shown to be good. Cashews have good fatty acids that help develop the fat lining around our neurons to help conduct the neuronal speed and transmission. Have been shown to be good.
So like if you want quicker processing?
I mean,
Or even just body.
This come from I like eating avocado and good fatty acids, like omega-3 fatty acids.
Okay.
Have been good to. Do you want good fatty acids, essential fatty acids, like omega-3 fatty acids, essentially, and definitely. And you need to eat a well-balanced diet. That means like good portion of protein and not simple carbohydrates, but complex carbohydrates that break down much slower, so that we don't get an insulin surge and a sugar crash.
Can you give me an example of a good complex carbohydrate?
Yeah, like legumes, dairy products like string cheese, yogurt, milk. Those are more complex carbohydrates.
Okay.
Simple carbohydrates are simple sugars, like what's in candy, what's in Pepsi. It's just pure like sucrose, fructose, syrup.
So not that stuff.
Yeah, like ice creams.
Okay.
No. You want.
That tastes really good though.
It does. But what happens is, in that case, that you get a sudden surge of insulin being released by your pancreas, and then that causes people to crash as well. And whereas complex carbs slowly break down and slowly release good sugars for your brain to utilize as energy.
So that'll give you the brain energy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to count it down again. With my ADHD, I'm losing the numbers, but I'm going to try. So we got number 1, blueberries. We got number 2, almonds. Number 3, cashews. Number 4, avocado. And number 5, complex carbs.
Protein, complex carbs.
Protein and healthy food, complex carbs. Okay. All right. Seth, on to you. And I know he's probably named some of them already.
I can't even think of 5 right now.
Let's go top, wherever your top ones are.
But I'd say foods or things not to eat, things sugars, caffeine.
Caffeine.
Yeah, I have kind of noticed that the crash is a little bit worse. I would say personally.
Yeah.
Sweets, fried foods, and things like that, which are all the things that I feel like we crave, but
yeah,
we
right.
kind of got to stay away from it.
So when you think, let's go to caffeine. I notice a lot of people have ADHD. They love coffee. Did you grow up with coffee? So did you grow up with a lot of caffeine?
No, I did not grow up with a lot of caffeine, but I would say, I don't know, something drew me to it. I would say, like before football games, I would have a 5-hour energy or something like that.
Yeah.
Just to maybe pick up the energy mood, but...
Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel more focused when you have the caffeine?
I guess maybe a little bit, yeah. And
because it's a stimulant, right? Which it's kind of a stimulant with caffeine, ADHD, and ADHD medications or stimulants. I know they're not nearly the same at all, but
honestly, I don't know. It's almost like I can't tell you if I feel better with the caffeine, but it's a part of.
But the crash bothers you.
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't know if it's the crash possibly from the medication too, or both combined. But I would say the crash from the caffeine in the morning, it's definitely by the afternoon, 1, 2, that's pretty low, energy-wise.
Yeah. I know a lot of people with ADHD and they're like, they love their caffeine. And so the high, and the lows are just like more dramatic. Even for me, like I'm super sensitive to caffeine. So if I have like caffeine right now, I'm not going to sleep.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if that's related to ADHD or it's just, I'm just, you know, overstimulated by caffeine. So for me, I think for my top would be creatine for the brain. I love creatine, especially, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but do you feel like you guys sleep is harder? I feel like for me, sleep is harder just because of the ADHD. There are some days where it's harder to sleep.
Sleep has always kind of been hard.
Yeah. I mean, I think that for me it's probably multifactorial. I think some of it could be related to medication, but I think a lot of this is related to anxiety and hating my job.
But anxiety and ADHD go hand in hand. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people who have ADHD and have anxiety.
I mean, but depression and anxiety go hand in hand too.
Depression, ADHD go hand in hand too.
And depression go hand in hand. Yes.
I mean,
It's funny that you said that. I would say, because I have anxiety and ADHD. I would say, as someone who has anxiety and ADHD, getting both of them situated has done wonders. I would say it has helped me a lot.
yeah, and there are certain types of ADHD that have more prone to anxiety, and I think Dr. Amen is a great resource. If you guys are looking for like an expert on ADHD, Dr. Amen Clinics. There's no relevance to me, but he's an amazing person. I've learned a lot personally through his books. I've read many of his books, and if you want to rewire your brain, I think he would be the first go-to person. Let me go back to my list, because I had creatine. I love creatine for the brain, and because of the sleep stuff with ADHD, my personal challenges and challenges I've seen in other patients, athletes, I think sleep is like the most important thing when it comes to reaction time, when it comes to performance. So the creatine helps the brain, and I'm not the one who came up with this, but I've heard this many times before, that if you take creatine, it can help some of the cognitive fatigue that you have from lack of sleep. Mm-hmm. So taking your creatine could help if you don't sleep well.
Yeah.
And especially if you have one night that you don't sleep well, then taking that creatine could help, boost the cognition, and especially for sports performance, that's huge. So creatine's I would say my number one. I love eggs because it has protein. It's good for a lot of things, good for the brain. And then number three, for me, is going to be no processed foods. I am totally guilty of this. And what I notice is, for me, once I start like a lot of processed foods, I'm like stuck. Like I'm just like boom, boom, next processed food, go, more sugars, this, that. Like you go, like with ADHD, you go in spiral. Like if I give into a little bit, I give into a lot, and then I have to be like, okay, reset. All right, now I'm not having any. This is not all or nothing. Mm-hmm. But avoiding processed foods, I think, is huge. And then my number four is having legumes and beans. I think that is such a good group of foods that you mentioned. It's very similar to what you said with the benefits for the whole body and performance, especially the brain function, the body function. And then my last one, and I really like this one because I think sleep is just so important for athletes, is magnesium. Mm-hmm. I think magnesium is one of my top. I think if you're an athlete, you should be on magnesium. What are your thoughts on magnesium? Both of you guys.
I mean, I personally take magnesium threonine as the only form of magnesium across the blood-brain barrier.
What was it called again?
Magnesium threonine. Magnesium threonate.
Magnesium threonate.
Yeah, there's different types of magnesium. There's magnesium glycinate, magnesium citrate, which is used for constipation. Magnesium glycinates to help replete this magnesium into the muscles for cramps and stuff. Magnesium threonate is the only form of magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier. And so that can be used to help clear brain fog, can help with cognition, things like that. Not necessarily helps with sleep per se, because I still struggle with that. But yeah,
Yeah, and that's what
Wow,
I
there we
was,
go. Brain fog, another one.
that's what I was gonna say. Because when I kind of figured out I had a little bit of anxiety, or I started having anxiety symptoms, I tried the vitamin D magnesium combo. Didn't really feel any benefits of sleep, but I would definitely say brain fog for sure. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, the brain fog was better, but I did not get the benefits of sleep, maybe because my anxiety was a little bit worse than
Yeah.
the magnesium.
We got a winner. We got all three of us at least coming together on magnesium. So we got one top winner, magnesium. So any last questions or any last comments that you guys would like to have our viewers listen to?
So just a quick question for you. So when you see a patient who has ADHD, I guess what's your process like in terms of treating them through vision therapy, and what modalities do you utilize to help increase their athletic performance?
And also, I want to add to that, what have you heard from patients, whether good or bad, about the training and how they feel about things after the fact?
So for me, I would say 80% of my ADHD patients are not athletes, and then 20% are athletes. And the 80% are not athletes is because I truly feel the ADHD is hindering the process because of the brain development at the early ages, where their brain-eye and brain-body connection is honestly just not as good. Like, if you have, especially if severe, like if you're mild, then you probably, it's not going to affect you as much. But if you're moderate to severe ADHD, like the coordination is just not as good as a normal kid. And unless you're in sports and you're working on it, you're going to have trouble. And that's just my opinion from what I've seen in the last decade. And those kids are dramatically better after vision training, because honestly, it's not just vision training. We're training the brain because the brain's connected to the eyes. So when we do a lot of our athlete training or vision training, we're working on rewiring the brain, kind of like what you guys hinted at earlier, is you can actually rewire the brain. So if, let's say you have ADHD and your brain-body connection's not that good, your brain-eye connection's not that good, we see a lot of kids who have issues with eye-hand coordination, ocular motor dysfunction, where they can't track, so they'll lose their spot when they read. Their focus goes in and out. Not only like mental focus, like literally what they're looking at will go blurry and clear.
Wow.
Because their muscle is spasming in and out. And so different conditions like that, I mean, it's like 40% of them have auditory processing issues where they hear something, the ears are working, but the ear to brain connection, just like the brain to body, is not as sharp. And so now they have to listen to it 2-3 times for them to be like, oh, that's what you meant. Like you have to hear it twice because the first time you just didn't get it. And so that's why I've always been like, ADHD is hindrance, but I get what you guys are saying is like, you got to work past that. Otherwise you can't accomplish anything. But back to the question, avoiding another tangent, I would say what I've noticed the most is when you do rewire the brain and you do build that brain-body, brain-eye, brain-ear connection, they thrive and they just dominate everything that used to be hard. Like they were 2 grade levels below reading. Now they're 1 grade above. And it's because now you've shown them, hey, you can do this. And it's that confidence thing, right? I feel like you give an ADHD person confidence, be like, you're good at this. And you show them and they show themselves, I can do this. Now suddenly they can hyperfixate on that and be like, boom, I'm going to be better than anyone else, right? But it's like, at first it's like, no, I suck. No, I can't do this. I'm not built for this. I'm born different. And they get stuck. And then they get labeled as special needs, or they get labeled as dyslexic, or they get just labeled as having a learning condition. So I would say 80% of my group is that. And so when they graduate or when they leave, it's just like, those are the ones who the parents are like, oh my God, you changed their life. And then that pushes me to keep going and pushes me to keep doing this. And then the other 20%, which I'll be honest, is probably more recent that I've been able to even help athletes who have ADHD just because of how busy we were. The difference is felt by the athlete because fortunately enough, the athletes are older. And so they're at the point like you were, like in high school, college ball, even some pros who already are in tune with their body more than like, let's say a 10-year-old kid, right? And so now that they've gone through life and they've made it enough to make it to high school ball or, college tennis, they had to have been somewhat coordinated enough to get there. So I feel like ADHD didn't hold them back, but it was probably more on the moderate side. So they're not the severe cases. They're more the moderate to mild cases. And those I can help a lot because they have more internal awareness. And so when I help them, they actually notice it themselves. Like, hey, like I had one the other day, be like, hey, like you said earlier, the ball slows down when I focus on it. This activity that we did where we turn the eyes in, we turn them out, and then we put a speed metronome to it, that is like making me see the field so much faster and better, right? Working on their depth perception, working on visual processing speed, because I definitely feel that for me, my processing, like my brain's processing speed could be so much better if I actually worked on it. Having ADHD, I feel like it's just not as like fast as it could be. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't, how are you supposed to find that out? But I would say that when we work with them and we make that process faster, where what they see and what they react to is like instant, is quicker, they notice it because they're internally already aware. Versus my 80% of the population, the younger kids, the ones who are more on the severe, who can't even read in a straight line, those, they're just so different. They're just two different, totally different cases. So I would say, yeah, for kind of what you mentioned, what do patients say? Patients usually say the game slows down for them. They're more dialed in. They're more focused. They can see the game unfold faster. And that's for the athletes. And then usually for the younger kids, we usually see actual measurable improvements where their grade levels are higher or they're now able to actually hit the ball. Because those kids can't even hit the ball. Some kids can't even catch. They can't even catch. And so when their eye-hand coordination is that bad that they can't catch a ball, that's more on the severe side where it's causing the eye tracking, the eyes to not be coordinated. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about myself. I never thought about how the hand-eye coordination goes to the brain and the brain sends it back to the body because, realistically, the brain is processing really fast and sometimes you don't have time to think about the body mechanics or things like that. So that's actually really good. Yeah.
Last comment. I want to say Kobe Bryant's quote here. It's a constant quest to try to get better today than you were yesterday and better tomorrow than you were the day before. I don't know if that had anything to do with ADHD, but I have treated that to be my philosophy. Is like, let's just be 1% better for tomorrow. And then tomorrow, let's go 1% better for the next day. Because I can only take things in chunks as ADHD. So I'm thinking today, I'll get 1% better. Tomorrow, I'll get 1% better. Just take it day by day. That would be my true, just honest opinion on how a person who has ADHD and who wants to be an elite performer should take things. Don't think 5 years in advance. Don't think 10 years in advance. You can write down your goals. That's great. But when you have ADHD and you have very short-term focus issues, one day, 1% better, 1% better, 1% better. That's what I would say. Any last comments from you guys?
No, I think you said it well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Definitely just keep taking things day by day. And just know you're not alone,
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, you're not alone. Here are 3 people who society would consider, somewhat successful, not to be flashy, bragging or anything. Like we haven't reached any pinnacle of anything, but it hasn't held us back. We've been able to power through. And so if we can do it, you can do it. And obviously there's even higher levels to this, like Kobe Bryant, Michael Phelps, who have powered through their ADHD. Well, maybe Kobe can't say that, but Michael Phelps and many other pro athletes who have powered through ADHD. And we look at them and we see what they've done to know it's possible.
Yeah. And the very last thing I just want to say is, just because we're sitting here today doing this podcast doesn't mean that I'm not constantly chasing a better version of myself every day.
Every day, 1%.
Exactly.
1% club. All right, thanks guys.